breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Dylan Rockford, who does such amazing work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We'll chat it up with them about what we might be seeing at the trade deadline. He is a New York Mets fan, so we will talk about how badly he has been tortured this season, and then we'll take a look at these great games that we've got on the card for Thursday in the final segment. Gonna get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind there's the name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get any Twitter/X questions today, we did have ourselves a great day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
A double-dip split between the Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets. For the Mets, they get a 3-2 win in game number 1, and in game 1, A.J. Smith-Schwaber gives up 2 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Bullpen from there was pretty solid. Dolan Dodd, the Oddfather, gives up a run in an inning, but Didier Fuentes, Victor Medeiros both give you a pair of outs out the bullpen. Squirrels, Danny Young, and out scoreless Tyler Kinley is scoreless inning, and Chaminade was solid. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Matt Olson takes a deep 28th home run season, but Oscar Brisbane, Luke Weaver, along with Devin Williams, they all lend a scoreless inning, and then in game number 2, 1-0, the Mets get totally blanked as for Chris Sale, boy, did he not sell in this one. He was getting punch-outs, and he was doing it all for the Atlanta Braves as he's able to go 6 scoreless, 9 punch-outs from there. Didier Fuentes punches out the side for a scoreless inning. Dylan Lee, Raciel Iglesias both lend a scoreless inning, and Christian Scott was pretty much great. Scott, 1 run allowed in 6 innings, but nothing doing on offense. AJ Minter, Ciano Perez, Dan Duarte were all able to lend a scoreless inning. For the Brewers, they pretty much just gave away their game against the San Francisco Giants. Thomas Pannone gets a surprise start, and team loses by a count of 16-3. As for Pannone, 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up in 3 innings, as he was taken deep, going deep for the San Francisco Giants. Daniel Susich, first home run of the season, then he would go deep off a position player, Andrew Vaughn, later on for his second. For Vaughn, gives up 3 runs in his inning of work. Bryce Wilson gives up 3 runs in 1 2/3 innings. Aaron Ashby, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, given up in a third of an inning. Chad Patrick, 2 runs allowed in 2 innings. And Logan Webb, his spidey sense was tingling, 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. Sam Entages gives up a run in an inning. Caleb Killian and Keaton Wynn, they were both able to get the win with a scoreless inning. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they get the win, 39-16 at home now, best mark in all of baseball. 3-0 the final. Mackenzie Gore does get gored. Pair of home runs, 3 runs allowed in 7 innings as you had Yandy Diaz get his 15th home run season, Ryan Velde his 9th, and then for Casey Lugumina, 1 2/3 innings scoreless as the opener. Ian Seymour, 4 2/3 innings scoreless. You had Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker, both on a scoreless inning, and Garrett Clevenger, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Nothing doing for the Pittsburgh Pirates at home. 3-0. They're blanked by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez, 8 shutout innings, only gets 2 strikeouts, but continues to induce that soft contact. Braden Garcia, scoreless inning from there, and Jared Jones gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. Was taken deep by Gabriel Moreno, 8th home run of the campaign. Carmen Molzinski, 3 shutout innings, but damage by then had been done. For the Padres, they were able to do enough damage. 3-1, they take down the Colorado Rockies. Gabriel Hughes continues to be solid, 3 runs allowed in 5 innings. Brennan Bernardino, scoreless innings. Zach Agnos, 2 shutout, and then for Kyle Hurt and Griffin Canning, they pretty much piggyback between the two of them. 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Wandy Peralta gives up a run in 2/3 inning. We have Bradley Rodriguez give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Jeremiah Estrada and Mason Miller scoreless 8th and 9th innings to be able to get that one in. For the Tigers, they upchuck defeat from the jaws of victory. They were up 7-0 going into the 7th inning, and they lose by a count of 10-9. Tariq Skubal tried to go as long as he could. 3 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Kyle Finnegan gives up 2 runs without getting it out of the bullpen. Derek Anderson, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Kenley Jansen, a scoreless inning. Jacob Auguste back. He gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 1 2/3 innings. Drew Summers, an unearned run, give it up in the 12th. That calls the team. Brendan Hennessy, he got not out of the bullpen scoreless. And for Trevor Rogers, he was in the neighborhood for giving up runs. 7 runs, 4 of which were earned in 6 innings. From there, Anthony Nunez, Yunier Cano, don't you know they both gave you a scoreless inning. Tyler Wells pitches. Wells, 2 shutout innings. Uncle Rico Garcia, 2 runs, one of which was earned. Spencer Torkelson in the 11th inning to extend the game. 20th home run of the campaign. Grant Wolfram a scoreless inning, and then you had Andrew Kittredge get the final out of the game for the Orioles to be able to get there on this one. 53 and 56, going to be very interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. For the Toronto Blue Jays, they get a 5-2 win over the Washington Nationals as Zach Littell comes up big. 4 2/3 innings scoreless, but bullpen did not. Orlando Robalta gives up a run in an inning. Max Kranick, he gives up a run in his inning of work. Eddie Yean in out of the bullpen scoreless, but Paxton Schultz, 3 runs allowed in 2/3 inning. Trevor Williams, yes, that Trevor Williams, 1 1/3 inning scoreless, and Trey Savage, he savagely mowed them down. 1 run allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Tyler Rogers gives up a run in a third of an inning. Louis Varland, though, scoreless 8th and 9th innings to be able to get that one in. Being able to get this one in, the Cleveland Guardians, 6-1. They take down the Cincinnati Reds as Brady Singer, well, he was singing the blues after giving up 4 unearned runs. Pair of errors out there in the field really killed him. Caleb Ferguson, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Chase Petty, he was feeling petty about giving up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings as Kyle Manzardo, 13th home run season. Julian Garcia, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Pierce Johnson, a scoreless inning. And Joey Cantillo, 8 punch-outs in 4 innings. Wasn't long for this game, but didn't give up any runs. Franco Ailman gives up a run in a third inning, but Eric Sabrowski, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Matt Festa, Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, Colin Holderman, they all hold it down. They all give you scoreless innings. For the St. Louis Cardinals, 3-2 in 10 innings. They take down the Chicago Cubs as this was a very nice start from Matthew Boyd. 7 shutout innings, a little bit less length from Dustin May, but 1 hit allowed and 5 shutout innings removed after 70 pitches. That was wild. Jacob Webb, he goes for a scoreless inning along Caleb Theobar, Justin Brule, Ryan Stanek, George Soriano, Riley O'Brien, all in scoreless innings. And then in the 10th, Luis Castillo, with the game 0-0, by the way, gives up 2 runs, one of which was earned. He was taken deep by Pete Crow Armstrong, 24th home run of the season. Then you had Trent Thornton give up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in the 10th himself, being able to walk it off. Ivan Herrera, an RBI double. So Cardinals, they get back to 500. This team is well below 500, but the Royals pick up a 4-0 win over the Minnesota Twins. Joe Ryan gives up 4 runs in 6 innings and was taken deep by Tyler Tolbert, 3rd home run of the campaign. Kendrys Rojas, 3 scoreless innings, and Randy Dobnak continues to be really good for the Royals. He goes for 7 shutout innings. Stephen Cruz, Daniel Lynch. From there, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. The Yankees lended a lot of scoreless innings early, but somehow, someway, they managed to upchuck this game. For the Yankees, they were up 4-0 going into the 7th inning, and they somehow, someway managed to lose this one. 6-5. This goes to 12 innings as for the Yankees, Cam Schlittler does his part. 1 run allowed in 6 1/3 innings, and then Fernando Cruz gives up a run in his inning of work. Paul Blackburn gives up a pair of bombs. 2 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. You had Montaka Murakami get his 23rd home run of the season. Sam Antonacci, his 8th, and then Tim Hill, scoreless inning. Camilo Duvall, unearned run given up in extras, and then Ryan Yarbrough allows the White Sox to walk it off. Edgar Quero, who does nothing at the plate, walk-off RBI single, and for Davis Martin, not the start he was looking for. 4 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, gave them all up in the first inning as Spencer Jones, 3rd home run season. From there, the Yankees, after that first inning, they would score 1 run in 11 innings. Jordan Hicks, a scoreless inning. Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, they combined for 3 innings in extras and just 1 unearned run given up along the way. Chris Murphy, Trevor Richards, they both lend a scoreless inning. Being able to lend lots of scoreless innings as well. The LA Dodgers, 4-2. They're able to take down the Seattle Mariners. For the M's, you had Emerson Hancock give up 3 runs in 5 innings, cranked deep by Andy Paz, 18th home run season. Michael Rucker, he gives up a run in his inning work. Cole Wilcox, Alex Hoppe, they both give you a scoreless inning, and Eric Lauer was great. 1 hit in 6 shutout innings from him. Alex Vesia, he gives you a scoreless inning. You did have Tanner Scott and Edwin Diaz, the return of Edwin Diaz, both give up a run in their respective innings of work, but the Dodgers, they find a way to get the job done. Another 4-2 game. This one goes the way of the Boston Red Sox against the Athletics, despite the fact that they left 13 men on base. For the Athletics, they leave 10 men on base as Patrick Sandoval allows 2 solo home runs in 5 innings of work. Jonah Heim, 11th home run of the season, then Lawrence Butler is 6th, but Teron Guerrero, Justin Slayton, Garrett Whitlock, Aroldis Chapman, Greg Weiser all give you scoreless innings, and Jacob Lopez was solid here. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 5 1/3 innings, was taken deep for home run number 4 of the season for Jahmai Jones, and then Andrew Marisario in the 10th innings. 6th home run of the season, that comes off of Jose Suarez, who gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. Prior to that, Elvis Alvarado was in the building for a scoreless inning. Brady Basso, Hayden Junger, they were both able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but not enough for the Athletics to be able to get this one in, and they were once 38-38, they're now 45-63, so things have very much toilet bowled for them, and for the Houston Astros. They continue the toilet bowling of the LA Angels, 7-4. The Astros are able to get the job done. Hayden Wesneski, 3 runs allowed and 5 2/3 innings. Bennett Sosa, 4 outside the bullpen, squirrels. Stephen Okert, a pair of outside the bullpen, allows the run, but Brian Abreu gets a final 4 outs for a save, and Grayson Rodriguez, not bad here. He does give up a pair of home runs. Jeremy Pena, his 12th home run of the season. Then you had home run number 7 of the campaign for Yanier Diaz, but he gives up those 2 home runs in 5 innings of work. Mitch Ferris from there, 3 runs allowed in an inning. Kirby Yates, he gives up a run in an inning. Brent Suter, an unearned run given up in his 2 innings of work. So even though the Astros, they strand 10 men on base, they do find a way to be able to get this one in, and being able to get the sweep. How about the Miami Marlins? 8-6. They take down the Philadelphia Phillies. Jesus Luzardo, 6 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. He was cranked deep by Alberto Hernandez, 16th home run season. And then Spencer Johnson, he gives you a pair of outside the bullpen, but Jonathan Bolin, he gives up a home run to Griffin Conine, 9th home run of the campaign. Ryan Gusto, no may Gusto to him, giving up 6 runs in 5 innings. And Trey Turner down for what gets his 15th home run season, but Dax Fulton, 2 shutout innings. Tyler Zuber and Pete Fairbanks, they're both able to end scoreless innings of their own. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, the unders have now overtaken overs. As we've got 799 unders, 786 overs, so a 50.4% hit rate to the under. And if you're looking at the amount of pushes, if math serves me correct, we're up to 38 of those. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56%, 882 and 694 among those 882 favorites. 216 failed to cover the run line, and over the last 30 days, the under rate is 54.2%, 192 unders, 162 overs, and if I'm correct, I believe we've had 9 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line, 201 and 147, so 57.8%, but 51 of those favorites failed to cover the run line, and over the last 7 days, favorites are just 49 and 41, with 20 of those favorites failing to cover the run line, and the under rate 54.4%, 49 unders, 41 overs, and a push. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's chat it up with one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Great to be joined by this man, as we've got Dylan Rockford aboard. He's doing such excellent work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he's doing a tremendous job as well, taking a look at the fight game over on Axe Kicks, Picks, and so much more. If it's a sport out there, he's probably doing a great job of covering it. He's a man that roots for the New York Mets, so we have to show him a lot of love here, because those are some hardy souls right now. Yes. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Rock with 2Ks, number 24 altogether. And Dylan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Greg. Yes, I need all the love I could get. This season hasn't been kind to me this season, but other than that, it's good to be with you. We had some day baseball as well, and would you look at it, the Mets actually won a game. So all is right in the world, but I'm doing well, and I can't wait to talk a little deadline here.
Absolutely, and one thing that I think that we know is that the Mets are not going to be buyers at the trade deadline. No. If they are, then I don't know what the heck is going on here. That said, how do you take a look at this trade deadline period? Because there's lots of big decisions for these teams like the Twins and the Tigers that are just sort of in no man's land right now in the American League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to figure that they're going to trade Mason Miller. We'll see where he's going to go. Tarek Skubal as well, because it doesn't look like the Padres are going to be. They're essentially just a 500 team as well. So yeah, you definitely got to look at them, and maybe like a team like Milwaukee or Chicago. Maybe getting Freddie Peralta back. I know he's on the block. Essentially, everybody on the Mets are on the block. I think there are 4 teams that we really don't need to trade. You got the Ewing, you have Carson Bench, the 2 pitchers as well, but with the Padres, I think we could definitely see him being on the move. Now, where does he go? There are probably going to be multiple teams. You look at the Dodgers, you look at the Yankees, the Rays, Brewers, I just mentioned, maybe the Braves as well. But I don't think the Yankees should go after a guy like him, just because I think the problem with the Yankees is the offense. They're dealing with the Cody Bellinger injury. They're dealing with the Aaron Judge injury. They don't need pitching. That's not going to help them score runs. They need offensive help. So, those are some teams that I think that could go after Tariq Skubal and Mason Miller.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with these teams at the trade deadline because it feels like there are teams in the National League that need pitching, and yet the team that I would argue doesn't, the Milwaukee Brewers, is right now the ones that are taking a look at Tree Skubal the most. How much do you take a look at these teams in the National League? Like the Cubs and the Phillies, in my opinion, are the teams that absolutely should be going after Tree Skubal, while the Brewers, in my opinion, really need a bat.
Yeah, Brewers definitely need a bat, but you look at them, obviously it all starts with Mizorowski. He's been good. Brandon Sprout, I know I might be in the minority, but I do think he has trended a little better. Logan Henderson has been fantastic as well. So I think he's really good. I think they need a bat. I agree with that. And you mentioned the Cubs. Imanaga has been really good. We'll see what Colin Ray has, but they're dealing with some injuries. That's why I think they need a pitcher way more than the Brewers. You know, Ben Brown was on the IL. Edward Cabrera was on the IL. Matthew Boyd, we'll see how he does. But I think the Cubs, they're in desperate need of a pitcher way more than I would argue Milwaukee is.
Oh, there's no question about it. That Cubs team needs pitching like they need their next breath of air. As we do have our good friend Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how do you take a look at the American League teams and which ones might buy? Because if I'm a team like the Chicago White Sox, I know they're ahead of schedule. I know that they've got a lot of young talent. Why not go for it right now in an American League that I'll continue to say it? Probably the weakest I've ever seen.
Yeah, the AL Central is extremely weak. I would agree. I know Minnesota's playing much better as of late. They've won 3 in a row. Pitching has been a little better for Minnesota, so maybe they might wake up. But yeah, Chicago, I don't mind them. They're about a 500 team. They're 55-51, but you know, they're one of the only teams in the division outside of Detroit with a plus 41 run differential as well. They're great at home. So if they could wind up winning the division, they're going to get a home playoff game. And, you know, they maybe make some noise. I love Murakami. I think the bats are well. And depending on the pitching, they sometimes, you know, Sean Burke, they have some good pitchers as well. So, yeah, I think they should go for it. I'm looking at a team like Boston Red Sox. I kind of didn't understand the move that they made last week, trading Connor early. I guess they have a lot of lefties. I understand it, but this is a team that, you know, they got hot. They've kind of cooled down here as of late, but still 7-3 in their last 10. And with the Yankees, you know, with them being hurt, they're only 6 games behind them. Tampa, they're not playing the best right now either. I think the Boston Red Sox, they should be buyers at the deadline and not just going for a wild card. I think they're live for the division as well.
Yep, I do think so as well. And I think that it's going to be so interesting to see what we get out of all those teams moving forward. And the American League just continues to be a big, giant mismatch. And we do have a few of those teams in action on Thursday. Obviously, we've got a bit of a travel day for some of these teams. But the Rangers and the Rays, I think, is an interesting matchup because the Rays, they currently have the top record out there in the American League. And for the Rangers, they're leading the AL West. They're probably a team that's going to need a bat. Nathan Eovaldi against Shane McClanahan with the Rays about minus 115, minus 125 favorites. Want to get your thoughts here because I think this is a good spot once again for a Rays team that continues to get the job done at home.
Yeah, and you know, real quick before I talk about the game, we were talking about AL and you know, the team making a move, and I was just on the MLB show earlier today, and we were talking, me and Scott Reichel, about, you know, this AL West is no one really wants to win it. Everyone gets bought into Seattle with the pitching, but they're not good. They need a bat. Texas, I was on with you maybe last month or maybe 2 months ago, and we were talking about a Texas team in the second half playing a little better right now. But I think maybe Houston might come and win this game, win this division. They're only 2 games back, and I think if Yordan Alvarez stays healthy, offensively, they have the experience. I think they're the best team. Now, Jacob deGrom, if he stays healthy, they have the pitching to win some games. We'll see. I think it's a 2-team race here between the 2 Texas team with Houston and the Rangers. So we'll see who ends up winning it. My bet would probably be Houston for plus money right now. But for this game for tomorrow, I agree. I'm all over the race here. I'm surprised we're getting a minus 115, minus 120. I made him a minus 155 favorite. Maybe my model's a little high on him, but I just think this is a great spot for him. Shane McClanahan having a much better July than June. He's solid at home. And honestly, I mean, the Rays are just a wagon at home in general. And the Rangers, they're doing better, like I mentioned, but I just think McClanahan at home, he's going to do a good job at limiting the batter. So, yeah, I'm all over the Tampa Bay Rays here at minus 115 to minus 125.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think that that's a great look on this day, and we do have to talk about your New York Mets because they're a favorite. No. And Hey, the good news is there's a team out there in the division that's floundered even more than them the last few weeks. The Miami Marlins, who looked so good in the month of June. I was feeling bullish about them. Like a few weeks ago, we were talking about the Marlins perhaps being buyers. Nope, now
Not
it's just
anymore.
a flopping fish with Yuri Perez going up against Nolan McLean. I want to get your thoughts here with the Mets right around about minus 130 or so favorites.
Yeah, they did lose, 12 in a row. It's like a franchise record. But my question, I guess, to you is, are they turning it around, or do the Phillies just stink at this point? Because they just swept the Phillies. I don't mind the Mets here in this spot. I know McClain has been better this season on the road, but I think he's having a really good July for the Mets. He hasn't given up more than 2 runs in 5 straight games. He has a win against the Fish back in Citi Field a little earlier in the season. He went 5 innings, just 1 run given up. Now, like I said, I do think the Fish have figured some things out. They just swept the Phillies. Offense has come to a lot. It was a nice comeback win here on Wednesday for them. I also lean over. I see a 7. My total came out to 7.9. I do think we'll see some runs here in this game. I do think Nolan McLean will be able to give up a few runs. And I also think the Mets, they'll be able to get to Yuri Perez as well. So I like the over, and cross your fingers, I'm going to take the Mets here.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Mets as well. If I can get them anywhere below a minus 130, that's going to be putting me on them. And Yuri Perez has just never been the same pitcher when he's been away from home rather than at home as well. So very much something that I look into, and I'm going to be looking into this one because we actually have what might be a playoff matchup between the White Sox and the Yankees. Ryan Weathers versus Sean Burke. Relative pick'em game here. White Sox in some places a very, very small favorite. Want to get your thoughts because for the Yankees, pitching has actually been really good for them. Boy, this offense needs Aaron Judge back.
Oh, they need something back. I would say Cam Schlittler's been amazing this season for them. Yeah, Max Fried's looked good. Garrett Cole's looked good. Pitching has not been the problem for them at all. It's been the offense. Both of these teams, I feel like, are going in different directions right now. Yankees are winning a bunch of games. White Sox, they've lost 4 of their last 5. I only made the Yankees a minus 110 favorite here. I think the White Sox are live here, especially in the first 5. I like Sean Burke. I think he's been great. No more than 2 runs given up in 7 straight games. Last time he faced the Bronx Bombers back in June, he went 7 innings, only gave up 1 run, 8 strikeouts. I like Ryan Weathers. I don't think he's been the best. I think he's a good 4 or 5 in the rotation. He doesn't really give him length. He's too up and down. He's a little too inconsistent for me. I thought game 1 of this series was very close. I thought it was very winnable for the White Sox as well. I think if they're able to jump on Weathers early, I think Sean Burke could do a good job at limiting the Yankees. So I'm going to take the White Sox here in the first 5.
Yep, I think that's a solid look. And for the White Sox, their bullpen has actually been in the top 10 in terms of ERA ever since June 1st as well. So they seem to be improving there. And then I look at this one being really interesting. Got 2 relative pitch contact guys here. Javier Assad going up against Andre 3000 Palante with the St. Louis Cardinals. Very small favorites, total of 8.5. Do want to get your thoughts here because Javier Assad doesn't have the world's worst ERA or anything like that. Man, this guy just feels like he's so overdue for regression, though.
Oh, yeah. That's why I kind of like the over as well. I like the Cubs. There's just no way I could back the Cardinals at this point. They're 2-8 straight up in their last 10. Andre Pallante pitches to a lot of hard contact. He's not good at home. 4.48 ERA. The Cubs got to him last time he versed them as well. He's just another guy. Inconsistent, especially with the way the Cubs are swinging the bats right now. Assad, he is due for some regression as well. I just don't see the Cubs scoring. If this turns into a shootout, do you really trust the offense at home for St. Louis? Because I don't. They're raking right now. 7+ runs in 4 straight games for the Cubbies. I'm all over them. I also think we see some runs. My total came out to 9.3, so I think we see some runs, but I'm all over the Cubs here.
Yep, and with the Chicago Cubs, certainly the offense has been quite good this season. And we've got ourselves a relatively good slate here on this Thursday. Anything else that's really standing out to you?
Yeah, the other game that I kind of like this bet, and it was for plus money here. I'm going to take Minnesota. They're around a minus 150, minus 155 favorite on the money line, but if you take them on the run line, I saw plus 150. I think that's a good little pizza bet here. They've won 4 in a row. Bullpen is questionable, definitely, for Minnesota, but the offense, they've been scoring some runs as of late, and now they're going up against Noah Cameron, who he just hasn't had a good season. He had a good start in his last outing, but before that, he's been terrible, another inconsistent guy, and the Royals are just in general, I would say they are a fade on the road. I think they're 19-31 straight up on the road. They've lost 8 of Cameron's 9 road starts this season. They're averaging the league worst 3.64 runs per game on the road. And honestly, Bailey Ober is decent at home. 5-0, 2.68 ERA, batters hitting under 200 against them. I think this is a terrible spot for the Royals. I think the Twins rake them here. So yeah, I'll take them on the run line at plus money.
Yep, absolutely. I do think that that's a good spot as well. And we've got ourselves a ton of fun that's going to be coming up on Thursday and moving forward. My friend, you're doing such an excellent job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. So let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you guys can follow me over on X/Twitter at Rock with 2Ks24. Greg, we got UFC Serbia this week. First time going there. We're knocking that country off. But yeah, we got UFC this weekend. Boxing is big. We're about 2 weeks away from the Hall of Fame game. And then before you know it, we're going to be starting to play off baseball. So I can't wait. And Greg, like you know, the grind never stops.
No, it never does. And our good friend Dylan, he's one of the best grinders out there every single time he joins me on such great insights, did so once again today. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by Dylan Rockford, who does such excellent work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to our guy Dylan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at GUnit_81, and we will be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. It is the Cubs. They're going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals, as you've got one Mr. Javier Assad on the bump for the Cubs, and for the Cardinals, it's Andre 3000 Palante. Total on this game, 8.5 over and under, both at -110. Right now seeing about -115 to -120 on the Cardinals. Even money to +102 is that number on the Cubs, and I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Cardinals. I set them at a -126 for Javier Assad. He doesn't have the world's worst ERA or anything like that, but as I was talking about with Dylan Rockford, I do think that he's doing for quite a bit of regression here. Right now he's applying a ERA of a 3.86, but a 5.04 fielding dependent, 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, only 5.8 punch-outs per 9, and you've got a guy in Palante who's got a 3.77 ERA, 0.8 home runs, 2.6 walks allowed per 9 innings, so he's been able to do a very solid job on that front. And when it comes to the Cardinals, this has been a team that's had very strange home and road splits. Like, this team away from home is third in the big leagues with about 5.2 runs per game. Compared to at home, they're averaging 3.7 runs per game. And the Cubs, they're averaging about 5.2 runs per game away from home. That's a top 4 mark in all of baseball, and Cubs certainly have been able to get a lot out of Pete Crow-Armstrong. 20-plus home runs. His on-base percentage is hovering just a hair below a 400 right now. Seiya Suzuki, Michael Busch are both at a 360 on base. Same with Miguel Amaya. Even Patrick Ramirez sitting above a 300 as well. Ian Happ can sometimes be a little bit inconsistent, but 17-plus home runs out of him. And then for the Cardinals, Ivan Herrera has been able to give you a 365 on base. J.J. Weatherholt has been able to supply 15-plus home runs along with Alec Burleson. And Burleson about a 340 on base himself. You do need a little bit more of the bottom lineup from these guys like a Pedro Paz and company, but overall it's been relatively solid on that front. Both of these teams have their bullpen issues. For the Cardinals, having these guys like Matt Savanson, Ryan Stanek above a 4 ERA, along Jojo Romero being on the injury list, that's hurting them. Meanwhile, for the Cubs, O.B. Milner, Phil Matone, Riley Martin, Daniel Palencia all on the injury list. That's absolutely brutal. You've had Jacob Webb be relatively solid along with Ryan Rolston Peterson. Both of these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, so I do like that for them, but still not necessarily a lot of depth there. And for the Cardinals, you've had a few of these guys like O'Reilly O'Brien be solid as well. So for the Cardinals, one to lay up to minus 125 on the money line, and I do like this total to the over. I did set a total at 9.1, 903, 904 on the card. It is the Marlins. They're going to be on the road against the New York Mets as Noel McLean is on the bump for the Mets, and Uri Perez goes for the Marlins. The Marlins do find themselves as an underdog here, and between plus 110 to a plus 117. Meanwhile, anywhere between minus 128 to a minus 135 is that number on the Metropolitans. 7 is the total. Overs minus 115, unders minus 105. Want to go up to a minus 128 or so on the Mets here. For Uri Perez, he throughout his career has been always a pitcher that has been significantly better when he has been at home rather than away from home. I will say he's on a really good stretch right now. He has given up 8 total runs over the course of his last 8 starts, but you do still have to be mindful of the fact that this is a guy that sometimes when he's away from home, he allows the deep ball. For his career, about a 269 ERA at home. At home, he's giving up less than 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, 454 ERA, and away from home, he's giving up well above 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. And Noel McLean has actually had his struggles when he's been at home as well. Away from home, he's only giving up about 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. His ERA is a 4.33 at home compared to a 2.29 away from him, but still he's been blowing guys away. 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He does get to face off against a Marlins bunch that they just have not been able to generate a lot of offense with deep ball. They're a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at bat basis. Now what they do generate is a lot of havoc on the base paths. This is a top 3 team in terms of stolen bases. Otto Lopez has been able to hit about a 330, and he's been able to give you 15 plus stolen bases. Xavier Edwards, 15 plus stolen bags. He's giving you about a 375 on base. Jacob Marcy, Asterio Ruiz, both above 19 stolen bases, and for Marcy, needs a bit better than a 197, but still, Asterio Ruiz about a 360 on base. Javier Sancha moves the line, but really don't have anyone that's north of 15 home runs. You have had some relatively good production out of Kyle Stowers here recently, along with Liam Hicks. Hicks about a 360 on base, 14 plus home runs. And then on the flip side for the Mets, it is a lineup that is very rough because you no longer have out there in the fold Juan Soto, but Carson Bench has been able to about a 260 with a double-figure amount of homers. Mark Vientos does have a double-figure amount of homers, but man, he's right now giving you less than a 275 on base. That's not great. Bubba Shedd is hitting now at 260, but you still expect more out of him. Marcus Semien about a 270 on base. Eric Wagaman, Luis Torrens, these mix and match guys just have not been great to say the least. And Francisco Lindor has really struggled as well. For the Mets, you've had Austin Warren and some of the mix and match bullpen pieces be awful, but Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, AJ Minter, Oscar Brisbane, these guys have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And for the Marlins, this has been a bullpen that overall for the season has been solid, but the exception is Pete Fairbanks, who has been absolutely awful. And now you've got Anthony Bender on the injury list, Michael Peterson, great name, not great that he's on the injury list. John King has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but Calvin Fauché has had issues as well. So like the over, so my total 7.7 for the Mets up to a minus 120 is what I'm willing to lay on that money line. 9-5, 9-6 on the card. You got the Pirates. They walk the plank. They're going to be taking on the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. He's on to Rhett Lauder getting the start for them. And for the Pirates, you don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez, most likely a opener for Hunter Barco in this case, and right now it's a relative pick 'em. Right now the Pirates, small favorites, anywhere between minus 110 to a minus 115, minus 102 to a minus 105 is the number on Cincinnati. 9.5 to 10 is the total on the 9.5, overs minus 115, the under is minus 105, on the 10, the under is minus 120, and the over is even money. And for the Cincinnati Reds, any sort of plus money was putting me in on their money line. For Rhett Lauder, he's just had more experience at the big league level, and for Hunter Barco, he's had a cup of coffee at the big leagues. He really hasn't gotten any starts, if I'm not mistaken, though, and every time they've tried him, it's not necessarily been great, albeit it's been out of the bullpen for only 14 2/3 innings, but 6.14 ERA in his career when he's been at the big league level, and it's not like he's lighting the world on fire at the minor league level as well. In his minor league starts this year, a 4.89 ERA, he's not giving up a ton of deep balls, but 4.7 walks per 9 innings. I've got massive question marks here, and for Rhett Lauder, not blowing you away by any stretch of the imagination, 7.6 strikeouts, 4.3 walks per 9 innings, 5.61 ERA. The 4.54 fielding dependent does point towards positivity. They had him coming out of the bullpen a little bit, so he's given up 2 runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts, but that's a big giant asterisk around it, and you do have a pair of teams that have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA in the bullpen as well, so that does put me in on the over. For the Pirates, it was so bad that they had to DFA Justin Lawrence. You've got the likes of a Mason Montgomery, Gregory Soto, Wilber Dotel that have all been supplying an ERA well above a 350, so you've had your issues there. Yohan Ramirez has actually been one of their best relievers thus far this season, and for the Pirates, they've gone cold with their offense, which has really been their forte because they're a top 6 team in terms of run creation. You've got Brandon Lau getting loud. He's been able to give you 22 plus home runs this season. Nick Gonzalez continues at above a 300. Esmeralda and Valdez has given you a home run every about 10 to 11 at-bats. He, Brian Reynolds, the new to be coming back soon, Spencer Horwitz, are all giving you about a 370 or so on base. And then for the Reds, you've been able to have Cousin Sal Seward be able to supply you with 20-plus home runs this season. Then you've got the mix-and-match guys like J.J. Bleday, Ellie De La Cruz, which he's not a mix-and-match guy. He's a really, really good player. But still, these guys like those two, along with Spencer Steer, that have been able to give you 16-plus home runs this season. Tyler Stevenson has been able to crank it up a little bit with regards to his average. And for the Cincinnati Reds, this is a bullpen that has had a lot of struggles as well. Bottom 10 in terms of ERA, but you've had TJ Antone, Brock and Rolberg be able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Pierce Johnson, Sam Mole, these are two guys that have seen their ERAs climb above a 4. So if you think that you get a lot of run creation here, but any sort of plus number, I'm in on the Reds on the money line. I do like the over, so I told 9.8. 907, 908 on the card. The Nationals are going to be on the road against the Braves. Grant Holmes goes for the Bravos, and you've got one Mr. Jake Irvin, who's going to be making his first start in quite some time for the Nationals, and the Nationals do find themselves as a underdog here between plus 120 to a plus 130, minus 140 to a minus 150. That's your number on Atlanta. 9.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. And with the Bravos, I set them at a minus 166. Jake Irvin is going to be making his first start in a little bit over 2 months, and it's not like he's ever really been that good. Like for Jake Irvin, 5.23 ERA. The fielding independent was much lower. He's getting about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, but 1.2 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Holmes, 3.79 ERA. The 4.83 fielding independent is a concern. 1.4 home runs, 4 walks allowed per 9. So you do have to have a lot of concern on that front. That said, it is a case where the Braves have the far better bullpen in this game. DDA Fuentes, Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, the two Dylans, along with Racio Iglesias, all supplying a sub 3.25 ERA. That really helps you out for the Atlanta Braves. They are number 1 in the National League in terms of bullpen ERA, hovering right around about 3.45. And then on the flip side of things for the Washington Nationals, it has not been good, to say the least. They are currently dead last in terms of ERA at 5.03 because two of your main relievers, PJ Poulin along with Brad Lord, they're currently on the injured list. Orlando Robalto has been able to give you some relatively solid innings, but Clayton Beater's not necessarily a guy that I trust in. They're mixing and matching with someone like a Paxton Schultz. Max Kranick is above a 9 with his ERA, so they're just looking to figure things out. The Nationals lineup still very solid, even though he traded away Curtis Meade and he unfortunately got hurt. CJ Abrams, along with James Wood, they've both been able to give you 27 plus home runs. For Wood, about a 400 on base, 365 for Abrams. And then Luis Garcia, 20 plus home runs. He's hitting at 280. You've been able to have someone like Nasim Nunez be able to give you over 30 stolen bases this year. So you've got a lot of guys that get on base to be able to turn those home runs into more than just solo shots. And on the flip side for the Atlanta Braves, this is a top 8 team in terms of run creation. Drake Baldwin, ever since the All-Star break, he has been looking much more like himself, back up to 19 plus home runs, 370 on base. Matt Olson, he's been able to supply 27 plus bombs. He's hitting at 265. Albies, 15 plus bombs. He's moving line. Now you're getting back around Acuna Jr. Need more out of Austin Riley. That's not necessarily been great, but I do think that for Holmes, he's going to be much more sharp here than Irvin. I think that you get a high-scoring game. Like the over, so I told 9.6, and I'm in on the Braves money line, set that at minus 166. 909, 910 on the card. It is the Giants. They're going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. Robbie Ray says hip hip hooray to another start, and for the Padres, it is old to be determined, so this game is off the board. Right now, all signs are pointing to JP Sears getting the start in this one, so I'm going to assume JP Sears with regards to the starting pitcher. I set the Padres here at a minus 108, so if I could get like a plus 110, maybe a little bit better on the San Francisco Giants, I will be looking there. Now, I do say that even though Robbie Ray has had some very demonstrative home and road splits, right now for Robbie Ray, he is supplying a ERA of a 3.16, but the fielding independent is more in that neighborhood, about a 4.49, 1.2 home runs, but 4.3 walks allowed per 9 innings, so that's a massive concern moving forward. And for Robbie Ray, when he has been away from home this season, 4.35 ERA compared to a 2.22 ERA. At home, away from home, he's given up about 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. At home, closer to like 0.7, 0.8 home runs per 9. Meanwhile, for JP Series, he's actually got a respectable 3.86 ERA, but keep in mind, at the minor league level, he was posting up an ERA above a 7 for AAA El Paso, and he has a fielding independent that's much higher than this. He's giving up over 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, not getting a lot of swing and miss, so lots of concern here. It makes it a very interesting circumstance because you do have a Padres team that they have had some struggles with their offense all season long. Bottom 10 in terms of run creation. I actually do like the under though, because for the Giants, they themselves are a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, and for the Giants, they obviously had that massive outburst yesterday against the Milwaukee Brewers. They put up a 16 spot, even though it wasn't really due to the home run ball. You've had Eloy Ramos be able to come back. He's been able to hit about a 270 for this team. You got Jung-Ho Lee along with Luis Rice, both hitting above 300. Now I will say Bryce Aldrich, he's been a little bit up and down recently, but still giving you about a 350 on base. Rafael Devers is up to 20 plus home runs along with Casey Schmidt. For Devers, only about a 316 on base, and William Adames is a 282 on base. It does need to come up, but Daniel Susech, who just came off the injury list at the catcher spot, is solid. Giants do have the more shaky bullpen here. They are a team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and they have Matt Gage on the injury list, but Keaton Wynn, Eric Miller, Dylan Smith, JT Brubaker, they've all been able to give you a sub 375 ERA. And then on the other end for the San Diego Padres, if you can get into the bullpen, they're a top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League. They still have Mason Miller, who's been a top closer in all baseball. Jason Adam being on the injury list hurts, but Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui, Jeremiah Estrada, these are all guys give you a sub 355 ERA. Estrada just came off the injury list. Adrian Monajon has been really good recently as well. So it's a very fascinating circumstance. I did set the Padres here at a minus 108. I would assume that we can get like a plus 110 or so on the Giants, and I'm right now seeing plus 109. That would actually be my minimum buy point there for the money line. And with regards to this total, I'm going to be in on the under. I did set my total at an 8.3. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Tampa Bay Rays. They're going to be on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers as Cole Winn gets a surprise start for the Rangers. Sugar Shane McClanahan is on the bump for the Rays, and the Rays do find themselves as a favorite here between minus 120 to a minus 126, plus 103 to a plus 110 is that number on Texas. 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115, over is minus 105 to a minus 110. And with the Walker Texas Rangers, I'm going to be fading them in this spot. I did set this money line price at a minus 147. For Evaldi, just gives up a little bit too much hard contact for my liking. A 405 ERA, and he's only giving up about like 2.1 walks per 9 innings. He's getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And on the other end for the Rangers, I just have absolutely no idea why Cole Winn is getting the start here. He's got a 6.11 ERA. I can't think that they're throwing an opener right now for Nathan Evaldi. If they are, absolutely amazing. But that said, for Wynn, he has not been great. And it's been a bullpen for the Rangers that has become a bottom 10 unit in terms of ERA since the beginning of the month of June. On the other end, for Shane McClanahan, he's only giving up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, 309 ERA. Now, he has been giving up a little bit over 3 walks per 9 innings, but he also gets a face-off against the Rangers lineup that, while they've been much better recently, they're still a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation. Wyatt Langford has been making so much of a difference for this team. He's hitting for about a 280. He's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, and you've got plenty of guys that are moving the line. Justin Foscue, Ezekiel Duran, Brandon Nimmo. These are guys hitting between about a 260 to a 275. Don't call his name Alejandro Ozuna, a 350 on base. Nicky Lopez has been able to give you about a 300 as well. Elias Diaz has been pretty solid at the catcher spot, but on the other end, for the Rays, you just continue to get good production out of Jonathan Aranda and Yandy Diaz, 14 to 15 home runs apiece. Both give you over a 370 on base. Junior Caminero, 29 plus bombs. He's been able to give you about a 370 on base. Chandler Simpson, he continues to swipe bags. Nick Fortes, he's been able to about a 280 as well. So love what these guys are bringing to the table. And I do think that for the Tampa Bay Rays, even though the bullpen is a little bit rough, they should be able to get to a Rangers team that they themselves have seen their bullpen ERA be in the bottom 8 in all baseball since June 1st. Still have the guys in the Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz. They've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Tyler Alexander starting to creep above a 3 ERA, but we have seen quite a few injuries really ravage this team. Jalen Beeks being out of the fold, that's been a little bit less than ideal for this team, and additionally, you just have not been able to get some really good innings out of some of the mix and match guys if they've been trotting out there. Peyton Gray, more like a 350 ERA for the Tampa Bay Rays. They have their own warts with Cole Sulzer well above a 450 ERA and most likely heading to the injured list. Cam Boozer along with Brian Baker, though, they've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Kevin Kelly has been very solid in this bullpen as well, so trusting the Rays to be able to get the job done here. When it was supposed to be Nathan Evaldi, I set this money line at a minus 147. Now I'm setting it more closer to a minus 165 to a minus 170, and 8 or less going to be in on the over to go along with the Rays on the money line. 9-13, 9-14 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober is on the bump for the Twins, and Noah Cameron should be pitching in some form of capacity. We don't know if there's going to be an opener in front of him, and right now for Minnesota, they're between minus 135 to minus 143 favorites, plus 116 to plus 120. It's at number on Kansas City, 9.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105, and I am going to be in on this total to the under. I set my total at an 8.3 because, man, this has been a Royals team that has been royally awful in terms of being able to generate offense, and that's a big reason why I just can't take them here on the money line either. I set my money line price at a minus 135, so I'm going to be looking at the Minnesota Twins in some form or capacity. We should be able to get a minus 135 when it's all said and done, and I do like what Noah Cameron has been able to bring to the table. For Cameron, he's been much better than the 493 ERA would indicate. A fielding independent, it's more around about a 403, 8.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up about 1.2 bombs per 9, and they utilized an opener for him in his last appearance, and he went 7 shutout innings after he had given up 5 plus and 3 out of his last 4. Meanwhile, for Bailey Ober, just not a guy that's going to be able to give you a lot of swing and miss. He's right now at a career low for strikeouts with 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. 4.56 ERA, 4.61 fielding independence. Spent quite a bit of time off the injury list, and the first start or two coming off the injury list looked relatively solid, but 4 runs given up in 4 innings against Cleveland Guardians. That's a little bit shaky, and the big issue that you might have with this under is both of these bullpens are absolutely terrible. Like, for the Royals, they're currently a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. They're still without Carlos Estevez, so that has been a massive issue for them. And then you've had likes of Alex Lang, Matt Strahm, Lucas Hursadge. They're all giving you an ERA that's well above a 5. Daniel Lynch has been relatively solid, but that's about it. And then on the flip side for the Minnesota Twins, you've had Yandres Gomez along with Andrew Morris be relatively solid in the bullpen, but past that, Anthony Banda has been awful. Eric Orze has been dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. Lawyerson, he has not been amazing. I will say Byron Buxton, if you're looking at the lineup, he just hasn't been himself since coming off the injury list, so that is a little bit costly for this team, but I think that he's going to be able to find it moving forward. Got these guys like Brooks Lee, Cody Clemens that have been able to give you 15 plus home runs for Josh Bell ever since the beginning of the month of June. He's been able to give you well above a 335 on base as well, and then Lucas Shaw is up to about a 350 on base. Flip side for the Kansas City Royals, having Bobby Witt Jr. on the injury list is just absolutely terrible. Now Carter Jensen has been able to give you 13 plus home runs. Jack Caglione is up to 16 plus bombs himself, so these guys have been relatively solid there. Salvador Perez, since the All-Star break, he's giving you like 4 home runs already, but it's a 265 on base for the season. That's not really cutting it as well. Tyler Tolbert, he's been able to hit above a 300, but really don't trust in this Royals lineup, so I'm going to be in on the under, and with the Minnesota Twins up to a minus 135 is what I'm going to be willing to lay on that money line. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. The Yankees are going to be on the road against the White Sox. Sean Burke goes for the White Sox, and Ryan Weathers hopes so. Weathers the storm for the Yankees. Mostly seeing 8 on this total. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. Between minus 110 to a minus 115 is that number on the White Sox. Right now about minus 105 across the board is what you're seeing on the New York Yankees. And with the White Sox, if I can get this down to more like a minus 110, which I think I'm going to be able to do so with the dime lines, I'm going to be in on them on the money line for Sean Burke. They might utilize an opener in front of him because they've done that quite a bit this season, but he has been rock solid. 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9. The ERA, it's in that neighborhood about a 3.19 fielding independence, just a hair higher, but I've liked what I've seen there. And for Ryan Weathers, he has been rough recently. He has given up at least 4 runs. That includes unearned runs in 6 out of his last 10 starts. Right now, he's given up 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, and the swing and miss stuff has been good for him. 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, but that ERA is a 4.25 because of the recent struggles and the fact that he has been really giving up a bunch of meatballs for the Yankees. They actually have been a very good bullpen this year. Numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA overall since June 1st. That ERA is a sub-3. These guys like David Benner, Paul Blackburn, Brent Hendrick, they've all been able to do a nice job in this bullpen. Recognize the Camilo Duvall is still a little bit of a roll of the dice, but all in all, these guys have been able to do a nice job in terms of producing. And on the flip side, you do have a White Sox bullpen that they themselves have been solid with their bullpen. They didn't necessarily get the start that they were hoping for out of Davis Martin yesterday, but you've got a trio of guys that I really like that have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Sean Newcomb, who's been a little bit shaky recently, Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, heck, even Trevor Richards has been a relatively good long guy. Jordan Hicks, not necessarily a guy that I trust in alongside Anthony Dominguez, but you've got for the White Sox a far better offense in this game. A trio of guys with at least 22 home runs. Colson Montgomery along with Miguel Vargas and Montaka Murakami. Murakami up to a 380 on base. Took him a little bit of time coming off the injury list to reacclimate. He's been able to do so. Tristan Peters has been able to about a 275, and Sam Antonassi, he's been able to give you about a 370 on base as well. So these are guys that have been able to do a very rock solid job on that front. And on the other end of things, you've got a bunch in the New York Yankees that entered into yesterday in their last 31 games, having averaged about 3.5 to 3.6 runs per game. You're starting to get a little bit more out of Paul Goldschmidt, and Ben Rice has been great. 31 home runs, about a 360 on base, but even for Goldschmidt, he's only giving you like a 320 on base. Cody Bellinger is now on the injury list. The entire catcher spot has been a nightmare. Ryan McMahon has not done anything with like a 270 on base. Trent Grisham has been nothing special at the plate. Jazz Chisholm does give you 16 home runs along Goldschmidt, but he's also been a sub 300 on base guy as well. So leads to an interesting circumstance because I actually do like the over with the way that the White Sox generate about 5 runs per game at home. So I'm in on the over and minus 110 or better. I'm going to be taking a shot on that White Sox money line. 9:17, 9:18 on the card. It's the Boston Red Sox. They're going to be on the road against the Athletics. Sonny Gray hopes that it's a sunny day for Boston. And as of right now, the betting board reads undecided for the Athletics. This should be Mason Barnett in some form or capacity. They might be utilizing an opener in front of them, and we've got a lot of openers already with the Red Sox between minus 155 to a minus 163, plus 130 to plus 140. 140. That number on the Athletics, 10.5 is the total, over and under both at -110, and I did set a total of 10.6. I am in on the over for Sonny Gray. Keep in mind, he actually began his career with the Athletics back when they were out there in Oakland, so a little bit of a change of scenery there, but for Sonny Gray, he is pitching to more contact than I think a lot of people would like to believe. Right now for Mr. Sonny Gray, 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, his lowest mark since 2016, so I do think that he's doing for some regression on this 278 ERA, 370 fielding depending, still only giving up 1 home run, 2.4 walks per 9 innings, but we did see him give up that 5 spot against the Toronto Blue Jays a few nights ago. And then for Mason Barnett, this is a guy that I'm just really not trusting in right now, because at the minor league level, he was a relatively okay starter, and he's gotten a few cups of coffee here at the big league level this year. 4.74 ERA, but closer to a 5.46 fielding dependent, with giving up over 4.5 walks per 9 innings. Had a little bit of a walks issue at the minor league level, and he's probably not fully stretched out. And for the Athletics, this team is dead stinking last in terms of bullpen ERA overall for the season. And if you look since June 1st, over a 6.35 bullpen ERA. Like, my goodness gracious, this has just been absolutely terrible, to say the least, for the Athletics. You've got a lot of guys that are currently on the injured list, like Justin Sterner and company, and the guys that are out there, they're just absolutely awful, like Elvis Alvarado, Brady Basso, Luis Medina. All these guys are just applying an ERA well above a 4.25, and for the Red Sox, they've been a top 4 team in terms of bullpen ERA. It's not just Aroldis Chapman, but it's these mix and match guys like a Teran Guerrero, Giovanni Morin, Garrett Whitlock. They've all been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. You've had these long guys come from absolutely nowhere and be able to do a solid job, because they've had guys like Tyler Seminaja go on the injured list. Justin Slayton has been much better recently for the team. Brian Bayo has been actually a really good long guy since he was demoted to the bullpen. And for the Red Sox, they're averaging closer to about 4.6 runs per game away from them, less than 4 runs per game at home. You've got Wilson Contreras supplying a 390 on base with 22 home runs. Weiler Abreu has been able to while out as he's up to 15 home runs. He's Don Rafaela, Masataka Yoshida, a lot of guys on this roster between about a 320 to a 342 on base. You've had Anthony Siegler be another one of those guys who's been able to move line. And for the Athletics, they're a top 10 team in terms of run creation at home. They are without Shea Langoliers now. Good news is they get back Nick Kurtz, who's been able to give you about a 400 on base, 21 home runs. Tyler Soderstrom, since the beginning of the month of June, has been absolutely tremendous, by the way. You look at his last 30 games, and he's giving you darn near 400 plus on base. He's up to 17 home runs this season, so I'm loving what I'm seeing there. Jacob Wilson doesn't draw walks, but he's able to hit 275. Carlos Cortez has been able to move the line, though Henry Bolte has seen a little bit of regression as well. But I do think that you get a lot of scoring with the Athletics going with pretty much a mix and match approach. So, and on the over end for the Red Sox, set their money line price at a -162. I was willing to lay up to about a -107 on the run line right now. If you're looking to lay a run F with the Red Sox, find that more around about -102 to +102. So, going to be taking a shot on that run line, and I'm going to be in on the total to the over end. Have things up with 919, 920 on the card. The Seattle Mariners are going to be on the road against the LA Dodgers. Hiroki Sasaki goes for the Dodgers. Brian Wu says woohoo to another start. Total on this game is 8.5. Over is -115. Under is -105. -150 to -156. That number on the Dodgers. Between +130 to +135. That number for Seattle. And for the Dodgers, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them here, and I'm going to be willing to lay a run and a half. Right now, you'll find that run line price at about a +135, +140, and I was willing to take anything above a +135, so that has me in there. For Hiroki Sasaki, he has been quite a bit better when he has been at home rather than away from home this season. I recognize that it's still been a rough season for him. 4.71 ERA, fielding dependent, it's more in that neighborhood, about a 5.19. He's getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he has given up the 1.9 bombs and right around about 3.5 walks per 9 innings. But for Sasaki, when he's been at home this season, that does go down to about a 4.60 ERA, and home run rate has actually been way up at home, even though the ERA is down. He's giving up well over 2 home runs per 9 innings, and that's a big reason why I'm in on the over. And for Brian Wu, you want to talk about a guy who's got some very demonstrative home and road splits as well. 40-37 ERA, that's doing for a lot of positivity if you look at just the raw numbers. A 319 fielding dependent, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings to go along with 0.9 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings, but just a completely different man when he's away from home. 2.20 ERA at home. At home, he's giving up about 0.6 to 0.7 home runs per 9 innings when he's away from him, closer to about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings and a 6.52 ERA. Now, it is a Seattle Mariners team that ranks in the top 10 in terms of opening ERA, but Cooper Criswell being out of the fold, having the injury as well to Matt Brash, has really been hurting them. Now, you've been able to have these guys like Jose Ferrer, Gabe Spire be able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Edward Bizardo has been solid. Nick Davia has been able to give you some relatively okay innings as well. But for the Seattle Mariners, they continue to be a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. Dom Canzone has come into his own, 18 home runs, right around about a 333 on base. And then you've got Cole Young, Randy Arozarena, Luke Raley, Julio Rodriguez between 13 to 16 home runs. Raley only gives you like a 290 on base. Young, Rodriguez, about a 315-ish on base, and just haven't gotten the boom that you were expecting out of Josh Naylor. Meanwhile, for the Dodgers, they actually average closer to about 4.6 runs per game at home, more than a full run per game more away from home. But still, you've had Shohei Ohtani, even though he's dealt with a leg injury, continue to give you about a 400 on base. He's up to 23 bombs. Max Muncy, 21 home runs. Eddie Paz, he's hitting about a 260. He's been able to give you 17 home runs. These mix and match guys like Tommy Edman, who doesn't see a lot of at-bats, but he's been able to 300 plus. And for the Dodgers, they do find themselves in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Tanner Scott, great. Scott has been able to give you a sub 255 ERA. Will Klein is starting to regress a little bit, and same with Kyle Hurt. Both of these guys have seen their ERA go above a 350, but Jack Dreyer has been much better recently for this team. You've had Alex Vesia continue to give you about a 275 or so ERA, dealing with the injury to Blake Trinan, but Rock and Roll Stewart has come off of injury. He's been solid as well. So for the Dodgers, I'm willing to take that run line, and I'm in on the over, so I total 9.1, and that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to our guy, Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you'll find it two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_D1. Keep in mind there's the name does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm going to be with you guys every single day, give you picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.